Sometimes Connecticut really knows how to surprise you. This small, seemingly polished suburban state hides a lineup of towns so unusual, they make you stop and go, wait, this place actually exists? We're not talking spooky weird. We're talking the kind of weird that makes you curious. From a forest village rumored to be haunted, to old industrial towns reborn through art, to ultra-elite neighborhoods so quiet, even your own car sounds dramatic driving through. Each town has its own story, its own vibe, like exploring 15 tiny worlds in one single road trip. So, let's take it slow and see what strange little corners Connecticut has to offer. Geographically, Warren is tucked away in Litchfield County, Connecticut's most rural region. With a population of around 1,400, what's strange is how that number barely changes. It's like a village that just doesn't care about growth. What makes Warren feel weird is the stillness. It's too quiet. Long, empty roads, old homes spread far apart, and thick woods where even your signal disappears. It's also home to one of the most natural dark sky areas in the state. There's a gorgeous lake called Lake Warramog, but oddly enough, this peaceful spot is often tied to local urban legends. Stories about strange silhouettes near the water when the fog rolls in. Not official history, of course, but it's repeated enough that it's become part of Warren's unofficial identity. The second you enter Thomaston, the vibe shifts. From Warren's forest silence, you suddenly land in a small town filled with old brick buildings. It feels like you just stepped onto a 1920s film set. Thomaston is famous for its clock-making roots. In fact, the town was named after Seth Thomas, whose clocks once filled homes across America. But beneath all the nostalgic charm, there's a low-key weirdness here. The town seems to refuse modernization. Many of its old industrial buildings are still standing. Giant windows, empty interiors, untouched. Urban explorers and photographers love this place. The buildings are strangely photogenic, beautiful, but just eerie enough to make you pause. Head southwest and you'll reach Weston, a town that feels more like a giant gated neighborhood than a city. Everything is neat, green, and carefully preserved. Newcomers often ask, wait, where's the actual town? And that's the thing. Weston has intentionally kept itself mostly commercial-free. Nearly 80% of Weston is made up of open space, forests, parks, conservation land. That's a wild number for any modern town. Some say Weston feels like a hidden village where rich people go off-grid. Many homes are deep in the woods, with driveways that stretch hundreds of meters. And here's the kicker. Despite its silence and lack of a real town center, Weston has one of the highest education levels and household incomes in the state. So, it's like this weird puzzle. Wealthy, educated, safe, yet silent, secluded, and operating on its own wavelength. Step into the dark entry forest, and everything just shifts. Dudleytown isn't really a town. It's a ghost village, long abandoned since the early 1800s. All that remains are crumbling stone foundations, an old well, and forest trails. And yet, somehow, this forgotten patch of woods became one of the most infamous spots in Connecticut. There's no hard historical proof behind the supposed Dudley family curse, but the legend has stuck. Stories swirl about shadowy figures, phantom footsteps in the fog, even compasses that go haywire. Ironically, experts chalk it all up to natural causes: magnetic soil, wild animals, echo chambers in the valley. But most people still prefer the haunted version. These days, Dudleytown is officially closed to the public for conservation, but its myth refuses to stay quiet. From a distance, Danbury just looks like a regular mid-sized city. But once you learn its history, things get weirder than you'd expect. This used to be Hat City, America's hat-making capital. The problem? The hat-making process used mercury, and over time, workers started showing serious symptoms: tremors, paranoia, and even erratic behavior. This is where the phrase "mad as a hatter" comes from. Yes, it's based on a real condition, not just a fairy tale. Today, Danbury is much more modern, but the past lingers in old buildings, local museums, and eerie little stories passed down by locals. It's one of those places that seems completely normal until you start digging. Middletown is one of those cities that always feels like it's straddling two worlds. On one hand, it's lively, full of restaurants, arts events, and college life. On the other, there's a strange quiet to it, like it can't decide whether it wants to be bustling or calm. At the center of this identity crisis, Wesleyan University. It's not just a campus, it shapes the entire vibe of the city. With its quirky traditions, art experiments, and offbeat student events, it adds a layer of unpredictability to daily life. Historically, Middletown was a thriving port along the Connecticut River, but over time, the river's flow shifted and the city suddenly felt far from water. It's like the town accidentally switched careers, from busy harbor to academic arts hub. Locals often joke that Middletown is too big to be a small town, too small to be a big city. And honestly, that says it all. Head southeast, and you'll stumble upon Chester. On the surface, just a small town on the edge of the Connecticut River. But step in, and suddenly it feels like you've entered an artist's village with its own strange little heartbeat. The main street is short, but it's packed with quirky art studios, offbeat boutiques, and restaurants that basically run on vibes only, and somehow, it all just works. One of Chester's most beloved quirks? A tiny river ferry that's been running since 1769. It only takes a few minutes to cross, but it's one of the oldest continuously operating ferries in America. Locals see it as a symbol of the town, small, low-key, and still moving forward even when the rest of the world speeds past. In the summer, Chester hosts a Sunday market that turns the whole place into a festival of handmade crafts, food, and music. It's lively, but always a little weird in the best possible way. Woodbury gives off a completely different vibe. This isn't a place stuck in the past by accident, it chose to stay there. Nicknamed the Antiques Capital of Connecticut, the town has a surprisingly high number of antique shops. But we're not talking tiny boutiques. We're talking full-blown colonial houses turned into showrooms. Walk inside and you'll find yourself wondering, is this a house, a store, a museum? Woodbury also has one of the highest concentrations of preserved colonial buildings in the state. You'll still see stone chimneys, hand-blown windows, and 18th century architecture everywhere. While other towns modernize, Woodbury clings tightly to its vintage soul. It's not just aesthetic, it's a statement. Travel a bit further southeast, and you'll hit Essex, a postcard-perfect riverside town that looks like it was built for a historical drama and never got taken down. White-painted colonial homes, cobblestone streets, and classic sailboats at the marina. Essex feels more like a curated New England Pinterest board than a real town. But don't be fooled by the charm. Essex actually has some bite in its history. During the War of 1812, it was attacked and burned by the British, making it one of the few New England coastal towns to be actually invaded. Nowadays, it's so well kept and peaceful, it borders on the surreal. Locals and visitors often say the same thing. This place is too calm to be real, and that's what makes it weird. Not eerie or ghostly, but almost too perfect for a town with just a few thousand residents. New London feels different from most other towns in Connecticut. Louder, grittier, and full of maritime energy. Back in the day, it was one of the biggest whaling hubs in the US, with ships setting sail from here all the way to the Pacific. That past still lingers in its busy harbor, vintage colonial buildings, and the constant sound of ferries pulling in and out. It's also home to the US Coast Guard Academy, one of the most prestigious military institutions in the country. And just a few blocks away, you'll find New London Harbor Light, one of the oldest lighthouses in America, built back in the 1760s. It's tall, narrow, and has become a local icon. The vibe here? Slightly quirky, a little rough around the edges, but full of character. New London doesn't try to be perfect, and maybe that's exactly what makes it memorable. Norwich sits at the meeting point of three rivers, Yantic, Shetucket, and Queenabog, which all flow together into Connecticut's version of the Thames. It's almost like the town grew out of a crossroads in the water. In its industrial heyday, Norwich was known for its massive textile mills, and many of those old stone buildings still shape the downtown skyline. One fact people always get stuck on: Norwich is the birthplace of Benedict Arnold. Yeah, that Benedict Arnold. The town has a weirdly complicated relationship with its most infamous resident. There's also Norwich Town Burial Ground, one of the oldest colonial cemeteries in the state. Quiet, eerie, and heavy with atmosphere, especially at dusk. But Norwich also straddles two worlds, the old and the new. Just a few minutes outside town sits Mohegan Sun, one of the largest casinos in the country. Tucked way up in Connecticut's northeast corner, Sterling almost feels like it slipped off the map. It borders Rhode Island, and the minute you cross in, everything shifts. Wide open fields, long empty roads, and old farmhouses spaced far, far apart. Oddly enough, Sterling was once home to one of New England's earliest silk farms. That's right, people here were raising silkworms and trying to build their own textile economy in the middle of what now feels like the middle of nowhere. Part of Sterling also falls within Patchogue State Forest, the largest state forest in Connecticut. So if your idea of weird includes silence, foggy trails, and an overwhelming sense of calm, Sterling checks all the boxes. It's small, yes, but Sterling often lands on weird town lists thanks to its isolation, its random bit of silk history, and that ever-present feeling that maybe time just forgot this place. Tucked into the base of Connecticut's northwestern hills, Winsted gives off major small-town meets mountain vibes. It's calm, scenic, and just weird enough to make you pause and think, why does this place feel different? As you roll in, you're greeted by lakes, valleys, and a downtown that still carries heavy traces of its industrial past. Once a bustling mill town, textiles, metal tools, and all kinds of small factories powered by the Mad River, Winsted still has the sound of rushing water as part of its daily backdrop. And then there's the Great Flood of 1955, which literally split Main Street in two. The photos? Still circulating. It's one of the most iconic disasters in Connecticut's history. Despite its size, Winsted isn't sleepy. It's home to Northwestern Connecticut Community College, and that gives the place a low-key college town energy, like a small town with a big spirit. This is the part of Greenwich most people never see, and maybe that's the point. The back country is tucked away up north, where the roads shrink, the trees get taller, and massive gates hide mansions you'll probably never catch a glimpse of. Here, privacy isn't just a perk, it's a design philosophy. Celebrities, hedge fund moguls, and ultra-wealthy families hide out on properties that span dozens, sometimes hundreds of acres. Some homes even have their own private lakes. Yes, lakes. What makes this place weird in a very refined way is the total disconnect between the hustle of downtown Greenwich and the eerie calm of the backcountry. Zoning laws here are strict. Minimum 4-acre lots, no sidewalks, and nature feels just as curated as the architecture. It's like a real-life Sims map, if you only downloaded the luxury pack. Way out in northeastern Connecticut, Putnam used to be a classic New England mill town, textiles, brick factories, the whole deal. But something shifted. Today, those same brick buildings house art studios, quirky cafes, and independent galleries, giving the town a creative twist you wouldn't expect out here in the quiet corner. Putnam has embraced its artsy side with events like First Fridays, a monthly mini festival where the downtown streets fill up with live music, food vendors, and artists selling their work. And then there are the whispers. Urban legends from the early 2000s about secret tunnels beneath old factories, treasure hunts, and maybe a haunting or two. True or not, Putnam leans into the mystery, wearing its weirdness proudly. It's one of those towns that surprises you in the best way. Old, rural, but quietly full of imagination.